talk about Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. Unfortunately for the Milwaukee Bucks, they just lost to the Indiana Pacers 4-1 in the first round. This is back-to-back years now they've lost to the Indiana Pacers. And shout out to the Pacers for going out there and taking care of business. They will get their own separate video. This is more so about the Milwaukee Bucks. It may be time for Giannis to request a trade. And I know a lot of fans hate that when superstar players, they leave the team, they help develop them. But this is a different situation. Giannis has been loyal. Giannis has won a championship with this organization back in 2021. All of those pieces that they had, Brook Lopez, he's still on the roster. He's a regressing player. You had Coach Budenholzer, and that's how I want to start off this video with this talking point. Budenholzer should have never been fired in the first place. Mike Budenholzer was not the reason to why they lost to the Miami Heat in the first round. Giannis missed time dealing with an injury. That Heat team was so good, they went to the NBA Finals against the Denver Nuggets. And Coach Budenholzer was dealing with a death in the family. He was dealing with his brother dying, but yet they fired him anyway. They bring in Adrian Griffin. There's a lot of reports that Giannis was not the biggest fan of Adrian Griffin. The Milwaukee Bucks were a top seed in the Eastern Conference at this time. They fired Adrian Griffin and they went in with Doc Rivers. I don't care what anyone says. I am not a huge fan of Doc Rivers. I think he's one of the most overrated coaches in the NBA, in NBA history. He's going to go down as a Hall of Famer. He won a championship with the Celtics. What has he done besides that? He is known for blowing 3-1 leads over and over again. He did this with the Boston Celtics. He did this with the Los Angeles Clippers. The man comes out and he said, you have to give me credit for having a 3-1 lead. That's crazy. If we're going to give you credit for having a 3-1 lead, we're damn sure going to give you blame for blowing a 3-1 lead. Doc Rivers does not make the right adjustments and he relies a lot on talent. So you bring him in to clean up for the rest of the season. They should have never fired Mike Budenholzer to begin with. I hated that move. And on top of that, when you had a solid coach and Adrian Griffin, you got rid of him. Part of the reason why they fired Adrian Griffin, their defense wasn't the same. Your defense was never going to be the same. You traded Drew Holiday to bring in Dame Lillard. On the surface, that's a great trade. We're talking about a pick and roll here. Dame and Giannis. Giannis, get downhill. Now you run the pick and roll. The defenders, you have to pick. Do you want Giannis to be on a smaller player on the interior and for defense to rotate over? He can kick out to a player like Chris Middleton. When he was fully healthy, he can knock down a three. He can operate from mid-range. Or do you want Dame just pull up and hit those pull-up threes? The fit never materialized. We can always talk about things on paper and say this should be a great fit. It comes down to team chemistry. We've seen great players in the past go and team up with other great players, and it never worked out. It takes time. And on top of that, Giannis has missed time in the regular season and in the postseason, and mix that in with Damian Lillard. And the cherry on top, you traded so much to bring in Dame. Your defense took a major step back. Dame is not even the same offensive player he was with Portland. He had more space to operate with when he was with CJ McCollum. And even when they traded CJ to the New Orleans Pelicans, it was for sure going to be Dame time. But they didn't win many basketball games with Dame here. And I'm a huge fan of Dame and his game. And I want to see him win a championship. But the injuries he suffered in the past, he was dealing with a blood clot issue. That's just one of those things. It just pops up in life. Hopefully you can bounce back from it. And Dame did bounce back from it. They caught on to it early. He was able to come back and play against the Indiana Pacers. He tears his Achilles. Now we're talking about a point guard that's already in his 30s, in his mid 30s. Tears his Achilles. He may not play until 2027. That's a brutal injury. Usually players are not the same when they come back from a torn Achilles injury. And what is Dame known for? A lot of stop and pop threes, a bunch of pick and roll. So we're expecting for Giannis and Dame to get their chemistry down together, and they can't stay healthy on the court. They had the right basketball team with Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Giannis, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis coming off the bench. That was the right lineup. And the same with Dante DiVincenzo. All those players are going damn near. Bobby Portis is still sticking around. He's still a very good player to have off the bench. In the regular season, he had a down year this year. Against the Indiana Pacers in the first round, he wasn't the same player, but he was better than Kyle Kuzma. They had to put him in the starting lineup. They made the trade to bring in Kyle Kuzma. You moved off of Chris Middleton, and I understand why. Chris Middleton is still a better player than Kyle Kuzma. The problem was this. Chris Middleton's dealing with knee injuries, had to have ankle surgery on both ankles. He wasn't the same guy anymore. And it's easier to move off of that contract and move off that player. So they traded him to the Washington Wizards to bring in Kuzma. I'm not a huge fan of Kyle Kuzma. In game one, He was just getting a lot of cardio. 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists. He is not a good basketball player on a championship contending team. He takes a lot of dumb shots. And that's who Kyle Kuzma is. This is not the same player that was in his early 20s. We're talking about Kyle Kuzma, mid to late 20s now. The same dumb things that he did with the Lakers, he's doing right now. On that championship run with the Lakers, he had a couple of good moments, but he will never be the main focal point of your team. And he cannot be a number 2. I don't even have that much confidence in him being a number 3 player with the Milwaukee Bucks. When you look at his body type, you would think he'll be a very good defender and a very good 3-point shooter. That's not the case. This was one of the worst seasons of his career. You can say when he played with Washington, Jordan Poole had a bounce back season this year with Washington, while Kyle Kuzma took a major step back. He comes over to the Bucks. He's terrible. And now you're stuck with him and that contract. I understand why you made the trade. You wanted to get younger. You wanted to bring in a player that was similar to Chris Middleton on paper. Once again, it doesn't work out. You have a bunch of players around Giannis. It doesn't make any sense. It is not hard to build around players like this. Giannis can average 30 points a game in the regular season without a mid-range shot, without a 3-point shot. And his mid-range shot has improved over the last 3 years. But he can just get to the rim on a consistent basis and average 30 points. And he still has his struggles at the free throw line, but it's gotten better. The ideal situation to place Giannis in is a bunch of 3-and-D players around him and a very good big that can rebound and knock down the 3. It's that simple. But they got too cute. You wanted to bring in an offensive superstar in Dame, who never fit alongside Giannis. And the fact now that you can't even trade him because he's injured, and I really do feel for Dame. There were other teams that tried to go out there and make a trade to bring in Damian Lillard. It never materialized. It seems like the Milwaukee Bucks, they panicked. They said, we don't want the Miami Heat to get him. We don't want another team in the East to get him. We'll trade whatever to bring him in. You trade all those first-round picks and Drew Holiday. And the icing on top of that, Drew Holiday is now with the Boston Celtics. He just won a championship with that organization last season. And he is still one of the best defensive guards you can have in the NBA. That's the way you build around Giannis. And why I'm all in favor of Giannis going out there and requesting a trade and leaving this organization, both sides need to change the scenery. The Bucks, you don't have any first-round picks. None. You don't have resources to go out there and rebuild your team from the ground up. You're going to be stuck in place. You have an awesome basketball player in Giannis, but you guys just saw what happened. You have the Indiana Pacers to worry about. The Boston Celtics, they're a better team than Milwaukee Bucks. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they've ascended over the last few years. You ran into a situation against the Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler. You couldn't beat them because of the health with Giannis and with Dame. So when you have your two offensive players that can't stay healthy at the most pivotal points in times of the season and the postseason, it's time to make a change. The Milwaukee Bucks will benefit a lot from moving on from Giannis. And I think if you put Giannis in the right situation, pretty much any situation with a bunch of shooters and very good defenders, he can make them a championship contender. You can get a massive haul for Giannis. Now, it depends if he wants to stay or if he wants to leave. If he wants to stay with the Bucks, I'm in favor of that also. But I just want you guys to know this. It's going to be a very long time before we see the Milwaukee Bucks back in championship contention. And I don't blame Giannis for this. I don't blame Dame for this. They didn't ask for any of this crap. I look at the front office. You made a bunch of rash decisions. You went away from what made you so special early on. You took the long route in terms of developing Giannis and Chris Middleton. I remember when Jason Kidd was the head coach, you moved off of him, but you kept on to your key players and you made the right trades then. The small decisions have added up to just a big cluster and just a big disaster with the Bucks right now. There is no reason to why Giannis should not be in the finals or even in the Eastern Conference Finals contention every single year. Injuries happen. It's a part of the game. But even if the Milwaukee Bucks are fully healthy, and you may disagree with this, you have every right to. I don't even still think they'll beat the Indiana Pacers. They may push it to a Game 5 or a Game 6. Look at what the Pacers have. Tyrese Halliburton has very good chemistry with Nembhard, very good chemistry with Pascal Siakam. They should have left this roster alone. Bring in some more key pieces on the bench to help out Bobby Portis and bring in a developmental big man. So eventually when Brook Lopez does retire and when he does slow down, you have a big waiting in the wings. And back to the Darvin Ham and Doc Rivers conversation. You won the NBA Cup. They were so happy that they won that cup. That cup doesn't mean anything. I'm an old school guy. What means something to Giannis, what means something to the Milwaukee Bucks fans a championship, an NBA Finals ring. That is what means the most. Look at how all the fans reacted when they defeated the Phoenix Suns. They didn't act like that over a championship cup, just a commissioner's cup. Not for me to just come on here and just say that the cup is meaningless and they should do away with it. It's a fun environment. It's a mini playoff setting. That doesn't matter as much. If you ask any NBA player or any coach, they want to take that ring home. They want to take that championship home. They don't care about the NBA Cup as much. When I look at Doc Rivers, this is a man, once again, doesn't make the many adjustments. And Darvin Ham, the one adjustment he will make, and Laker fans will tell you this, he will put Taurean Prince in the game. And Taurean Prince is not a good starter. Taurean Prince cannot back cut. Taurean Prince cannot shoot threes consistently. He's a solid defender at times. That's it. He's just running up and down the court. He's Kyle Kuzma without a jump shot. That's what Taurean Prince is. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about the Milwaukee Bucks? And once again, I just feel so bad for Gary Trent Jr. to have a great game that he had in overtime, knocking down those threes a couple of games ago, just knocking down those threes repeatedly, playing very good defense on Tyrese Halliburton. It just sucks. But if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, we want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.